Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube videos where I talk about choking phobia and my personal struggle in dealing with it. So the basic tools I use for dealing with my choking phobia is food and life experience from all the people who've taught me how to deal with a phobia, especially one that is as debilitating and frightening as choking phobia. So the basic tools that you use is something called cognitive behavioral therapy, and a subset of that cognitive behavioral therapy is a very important tool one uses, which is called exposure and response prevention. I know some people are watching this video, they already know what it is. I'm going to go into more what is like the dictionary definition of it, perhaps a little bit about like, good examples or maybe history to kind of like convince people who maybe not be convinced about what ERP is and how it could help someone with a phobic disorder. I'll go into that afterwards. I'll read from my little tablet I have in my basement. What I'm gonna do first is obviously the first thing I do mostly it's one of the first things I do in the morning now. It's like becoming my routine for about 2 months now. I eat, and I also become mindful. I eat mindfully, not healthily, which is a whole nother subject, but mindfully. And I mean mindfully because just to clarify, there's nothing necessarily wrong with choosing food in the beginning that isn't healthy, as long if it tastes good, if that can help you get over your fear of choking on the food. So the best thing you want to do is with this exposure and response prevention therapy, okay, is rate your anxiety before you do. First of all, plan to do something anxious. All right, set a time, a date, and what you're gonna do. So for me, it's now, right? Time is now, date is now, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna whatever makes me anxious, which is eating McDonald's hash browns. I have here 3 hash browns. I wanted to get more, but they weren't serving lunch yet, so I didn't pout like a little girl. I basically said, all right, fine, just give me some breakfast foods, and moved on. I don't know, are they still serving Monopoly, or they got Monopoly still? They said November 11th, so it's done. The Monopoly contest is done. And I did not win anything. I thought it lasted till November 11th. I'm happy, but I'm being distracted. So cognitive exposure and response prevention therapy is basically 3 steps. So first one, as I said, is plan to become anxious at some point in time in the future, deliberately. The second part is rating your anxiety right before you're about to do this activity that's going to make you anxious. Rate your anxiety. On a scale of 1 to 100, how bad is it? 100? Put 100. Okay? 90? 90. 80? 80. And you're going to get a lot of high anxieties in the beginning. You're going to get hundreds and 90s and 80s and 70s. Then what you do is you do the anxiety, the thing you plan to do. Then you just don't do anything. You just do the anxiety. You just do it. You just do it. You just, if you find it too hard, I recommend deep breathing exercises through your nose. There's very great deep breathing exercises one can use for choking phobia. Highly recommend them. Highly recommend them, because it's all about the throat muscles and how they're so hypersensitive. So once you have air moving in, air you can control, air that's there's no food in it, so it's just if people who have choking phobia know what I'm talking about. And then what you do is you do as much of this activity as you can, as you possibly can. Try it. You got to try it. If you're not going to try, then just don't do it. You're not going to get results if you don't try. Okay? Then what you do is you end your activity and write the number that you had in the beginning. Write it again, like you're going to do it again. What's that number now? And through a process, those numbers go down. I'm not a doctor, an expert. It's basically like, let's say you're scared of like what are people commonly scared of? Flying. That's a good example. If you're scared of flying, I'm scared of flying too. You start off with short flights, right? You start off with maybe just pretending you're gonna calling the airport, getting it all ready, putting your luggage in, right? Imagining how it's gonna be, right? That might be the beginning of that might be your activity. That's like too much. You went from like a 10 to a 9.5. Okay, because you're too scared of flying. Eventually, you're gonna have to get to the point. If you want to get, a better life, a happier life, a life with less anxiety, right? Let's say your boss asks you to go to a meeting in Europe or something, and you got to fly there, and what are you gonna say? Oh, I'm sorry, boss, I have a flying phobia. No, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there, and you're gonna, do good in your life. You don't let anxiety hold you back. It's the same principle. You get on the flight. You're right, as much as you can. This is a better example, perhaps, to be done on the shorter flights, maybe, like pick like a regional airport and just go like a county or, like a state over, like just 30-minute flight or something, so that you're just okay. Then you can start with longer ones, or maybe going a couple states, north to south. You'll eventually see your anxiety going down, And trust me, this has worked. This isn't magic. This isn't pseudoscience. This isn't like just talking out my ASS. I've been doing this for about 2 months now, consistently every day, and I'm seeing a improvement. My anxiety levels were very high. So without further ado, even though I am very, 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 very angry that the McDonald's promotion, the Monopoly promotion at McDonald's is done, even though they said it'd be done November 11th. As far as I know, it's no more than November 8th or 9th. Okay, it might have been 11th, but I don't think so. Yeah, I think it's like the 8th or 9th. I think it just ran out of the stickers. Okay, so let's do it. First part of it is planning it out, which is why I'm making this video. Second part is to rate my anxiety on a scale of 1 to 100. So it's food I eat on a regular basis. So I kind of like the staple of what I eat nowadays. It's, let's go with the solid. I'm gonna go with a solid 10 out of 100. And then you do the scariest part, which is getting on the plane. And it's scary, but trust me, there are other people like you. I mean, like you, who think this is impossible, I'll never do it. Once you slowly habituate yourself to the danger, your mind will realize your perception of the danger was actually overblown. So, let's do that now.
In downtown Toronto, it is -1. Good morning from the 680 News Broadcast Center. I'm Sarah Harris.
Oh, it already feels cold. And I'm Steve Roberts. Here's what's making news right now.
The investigation continues in Brampton, where the Peel Police Homicide Unit has taken over the case after 2 children, boys aged 9 and 12, were found dead in their family home near Sandalwood Parkway and Credit View Road. Police initially responded to the home for a medical call. Drivers dealt with a mix of snow, slush, and ice this morning, with the conditions causing at least 40 to 50 collisions all around the GTA. But it looks like later today is when the real winter weather will hit us, as we're expecting about 3 to 5 more centimeters of snow, making for a terrible drive home. Time now for 680 Sports from Sportsnet 590 The Fan. Here's Andrew Nye.
Sir, he has 12 goals and 18 points in 16 games. Pretty good. Imagine the possibilities if Austin Matthews was engaged every game, like some of the other top stars in the league. New Sportsnet analyst Justin Bourne joining the guys on Good Show.
I don't think that his ceiling doesn't include that. I think he can become that, but I certainly don't think that right now. You're right. There's a lot of games where you go, boy, that wasn't very good.
Where were you?
Yeah, but
And you don't have a shot attempt through 40 minutes.
Right.
Tonight, Leafs and Golden Knights at 7 o'clock on Sportsnet 590 The Fan and Sportsnet. Raptors held off the Kings last night, 124-120. Now a 5-game road trip beginning tomorrow in New Orleans. It also includes a back-to-back against the Lakers and Clippers Sunday and Monday. OG Anunoby will join Writers Block today at 2:45. New Blue Jays pitcher Chase Anderson scheduled to join the show at 4:25. Week 10 in the NFL kicks off with the LA Chargers in Oakland to play the Raiders. That one goes at 8:20. And Kitchener will host Game 3 of the Canada-Russia Series tonight. The OHL All-Stars are the host at 7 on Sportsnet 1. Sports at 15 and 45 past every hour or anytime on the home of Tim and Sid, now on TV and radio. Sportsnet 590, The Fan.
If neck straps going out to Rick, because loving you, Judy says, is easy as switching to RBC.
Switching to RBC is the new easy. So easy that setting up bill payments is as simple as snapping a pic with the RBC mobile app. Open an all-inclusive account by January 31st and get $300. Conditions apply.
Is your uniform supplier letting you down? Missing deadlines? Out of stock? I'm Jeff Ross, president of Entropy.com. We do logo uniforms and we do them quickly. 5-day order completion guaranteed. We also create free uniform e-stores to get your employees fitted faster. All this with no inventory, no contracts, and no administration requirements. Let us help you rethink your uniform program. Visit us at Entropy.com. That's ENTRIPY.com.
Congestion's all cleared up, so if you're on the expressway, your commute should be as easy as switching to RBC.
Switching to RBC is the new easy. So easy that setting up bill payments is as simple as snapping a pic with the RBC mobile app. Open an all-inclusive account by January 31st and get $300. Conditions apply.
This is All News Radio 680 News. It's 10:48. Rolling strike votes continue for the province's high school teachers today. York Region members of the Ontario Secondary School Teachers Federation will be casting their ballots in Newmarket. The OSSTF voting window closes November 15th. Well, in northern BC, scientists who discovered a pile of strange-looking bones say it's a new species of dinosaur that roamed the province more than 65 million years ago. Victoria Arbor with the Royal BC Museum says Therosaurus tatensis was a plant eater about the size of a bighorn sheep.
They're sort of little cousins of more famous dinosaurs like Triceratops. They had a parrot-like beak and a very short bill and no horns on the face. They were plant eaters, and they probably mostly walked on 4 legs, but might have been able to get around on 2 legs sometimes.
The bones are part of a new dinosaur display at the Royal BC Museum. City News Time, 10:49. The remains of an ancient ape found in southeast Germany suggest that humans' ancestors began standing upright millions of years earlier than previously thought.
A team of researchers say the fossilized partial skeleton of a male ape that lived almost 12 million years ago in the humid forests of what is now southern Germany bears a striking resemblance to modern human bones. In a paper published in the journal Nature, researchers conclude the previously unknown species that they walk on 2 legs and time like an ape. The findings, they say, raise fundamental questions about our previous understanding of the evolution of the great apes and humans. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Coming up in 60 seconds, we'll check in with traffic and weather.
680 News Time, 10:50.
Call systems coming at you. Take Dayquil Complete and put your cold symptoms out cold.
Dayquil Complete. The coughing, aching, congested chest, stuffy head, promised to you days, medicine. To ensure this product is right for you, always read and follow the label. You better read your children.
Did you know that pedestrian collisions go up by more than a third once the clocks turn back? Come on, people. The end of daylight saving time should not be the end of someone's life. Let's stop this. Stay.
I'm gonna say something real quick here. I had a really big bite of the hash brown. Like more than even I thought I should have put it in my mouth at one time. And yeah, I was just overwhelmed with the taste. There was so much hash brown in there. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I wanted to say I took too big of a bite of a hash brown. Moving on. I'm just finishing this. So.
680 News Time, 10:51.
Time for traffic and weather together all at once. Here's Eva Fraticato. Well, right now, if you are using the westbound side of the 401, you'll still find a delay from about McCowan to Kennedy and the collectors, and then it slows down again approaching the 404 to west of Young, alternately Express and Collector Lanes. And if you are eastbound,
Spacious and supportive environment.
Milton area, and then eastbound on the 401.
Company, more so than anything else. Of course, over time, technologies will be developed which will allow many companies, including Maple Leaf, to become carbon neutral, like for real. But we're not there yet. I mean, everything is happening so fast. I mean, when you think of plastics and the naturalization of ingredients, and things are happening so fast, so it's very tough for companies like Maple Leaf to catch up. But you got to give them credit for setting specific, clear, measurable targets.
You said that things are happening very quickly. Is it easier for a small company or a big company to catch up, to change things?
Well, with a larger company like Maple Leaf, you have baggage.
But you also have more money coming in.
You have more company come in, but you do have baggage. You have unions, probably. You're dealing with some history, some inefficient plants. Goodness, there are so many inefficient plants out there, which will cost millions. And that's why Maple Leaf is closing down plants and rebuilding new ones, brand new ones. That's exactly what happened in Hamilton for pork. That's exactly what's happening in London with chicken. And I do expect more of that to happen, because to become carbon neutral, it's much easier to just scrap what you have and start all over again.
So what's happening? Are they ripping them down and building new plants on that actual land that they own, or are they selling it to...
So, as I said, the third part of the activity, after the part that makes you anxious, I'm interested, you'll feel better after you do it. After you finish the anxiety, you'll feel much better because you're not doing the anxiety situation. I felt it today. A bit of a relief after I finished eating. That might just be excitement of what I'm going to do next, which is smoke marijuana. It's possible. It might be a mix of both. Moving on, because I don't know. Let you down. With the anxiety at the end, right? So from a 10, I say it a 10. And I always repeat myself, I just want to make this clear. Just because it went from a 10 to a 10 doesn't mean cognitive behavioral therapy doesn't work. Because we're starting with such a low numbers anyway. Right? This is better than missing a meal. This is better than just eating cheese and forcing yourself to eat chips, convincing yourself you are not choking on them. You understand? So it's better to have a low level of choking consistently rather than a high level of choking followed by a medium level of choking, right? Followed by a high level of choking, right? Followed by a medium level of choking. It's just common sense. You'd rather take a less anxiety there than high and medium spread. I don't know if spread's the right word for that, but you know what I mean? All right. What I mean to say is not spread, but when you have like high and lows in terms of anxiety, take the lows, right? Take the lows. Do the work, take the lows. So now I promised you guys what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my basement. I'm going to write down the dictionary definitions of what exposure responsive venture therapy is, what cognitive behavioral therapy is. So let's go into that. I'm downstairs. Honestly, what I'm going to do first, have a cigarette, and just enjoy the fact that I just ate. Or just like a couple minutes. Just kind of think. Oh, this is dumb. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have a cigarette, I'm gonna talk some more. I'm gonna smoke some weed. Okay. Then I'm gonna set up my tablet. Basically oh yeah, I'll set it up on a nice place where it's lighting. Oh wait. I had it set it up at a place, it's just and I'll just go in my room, turn the light on. What I'll do is start reading to you guys what is CBT and what is ERP. What's the difference? And what is like that's psychology, because I don't have time to like talk about all that, but just ERP and CBT basically. I'll start now, just a brief background. Now, as far as I know, this is just this is not authoritative as much as I would like to be authoritative. It's basically someone who had little to no interest in psychology until he was affected by it, and even then he kind of just nothing really clicked in him, and then something clicked in him, except he took it too far and he almost got very, very, very sick and died. Almost died. And then when he came to that realization after a eventful trigger in his life that psychology is something you should take more seriously. Your mental health is something you should be taking as seriously, if not more seriously, than your physical health. These different things like breathing exercises and mindfulness and releasing energy from your your forehead and your jaws and your palms that might be balled up and making you tense. Relax your eyes, relax your jaw. Not your eyes, but I've heard people say relax your eyes, but for me specifically, I've heard like relax your jaw. Mostly that's what kind of stuck with me, relaxation techniques, and giving yourself a lot of time to work through the anxiety. Don't be anyone else's clock. Just because someone says you're not as sick as they think, like if they think you're faking it, that's their problem. Honestly, like you just need to tell them that you don't know what anxiety means. Anxiety doesn't mean you're weaker than someone or you're not as strong. Anxiety is literally like, I have a flu, and so I'm taking Tamiflu. Does that make me weaker if I wasn't to take that Tamiflu? It's the same thing with exposure response intervention therapy. Is medication. When people say, "Oh, you're wasting," you know, I mean, you're basically not, you're faking it. Well, I'd say, you know, it's easy. It's really easy to say because you can't see it, and you think most people who are mentally ill are like catatonic schizophrenics who, I don't know, talk to themselves, and we forget how many people had mental illnesses in history. I heard was Albert Einstein had Asperger's. Now I heard that was debunked. I read his biography by Walter Isaacson. I think he might have Asperger's, just based on the fact that in his later years in life, like when he kind of like started teaching at MIT, he basically didn't leave his room. His entire life at that point was just like, I heard he married his cousin, so I don't know. That's odd in itself. I don't know if it has anything to do with Asperger's syndrome. Definitely him staying in his office all day, working on theories, and very, very rarely leaving the MIT grounds. You know, he has this routine. He would speak about, like, I just, when I read it, I would see they would just be a repetitive routine. He would do, like, wake up. He would think about problems. He would be thinking about, do thought experiments in his head, and with the speed of light and the nature of the universe. He'd write some equations down, study them, and then basically do the whole thing, you know, have some lunch, and maybe spend some time with some friends, go to sleep, you know, and then do it all over again. It was like, he had a very, very disciplined routine, and I don't think anything wrong with that. I'm saying, though, I've heard theories suggested that he could have Asperger's syndrome, and that definitely correlates with that. Having a strict thing like that, having a distinct interest. So does that mean he is somehow weaker, right? Because he has Asperger's syndrome? I've asked MIT. I don't think anyone at MIT would say Albert Einstein is weaker because he possibly could have had Asperger's syndrome. Like, you know what I mean? So look at different people. So that's just one thing I wanted to get out of the way here. How there's a huge mental stigma. Like, you look at people like, okay, let's take an example. You know those cringe compilations on YouTube where you see sometimes people like, there was just like people doing awkward things or things out of control or things that you just want to be like, oh, I don't want to see this. It's too cringy. You know what I mean? Cringe culture. It's kind of like, stop. It's just too out of mainstream, too autistic, too socially awkward, too much like you live in your parents' basement. You're not, you know, being successful. It's like this awkwardness to the nth degree. You know, if you guys aren't familiar with it, YouTube cringe compilations, Reddit cringe compilations, you'll find them. Okay. One of them I want to talk about because I know a lot of people bullied this woman after she, you know, was on YouTube as on a cringe compilation. And I found it very odd because she, you know, at first I did too. I didn't at first. I thought, well, let me just describe the video, then I'll describe my reaction. It was basically a Q&A session at a Minecraft convention. And everyone there is, you know, into Minecraft, which I've heard is like an autism game for people with autism. I haven't played it more than like 5 minutes, so I don't know. I've been diagnosed with autistic traits, so I don't know. I might get it for the PC. Who knows? But besides the point, this woman goes up to the stage and to the people on the stage and asks, "Hi, my name is blah blah blah, and I was wondering, would you like to join my Minecraft, my Minecraft mining craft server?" So it's a Minecraft server where you craft things, I guess, for other Minecraft servers. You understand? It's like you join the server just to make things. Apparently people like it. It's Minecraft. So she said, I have business cards, and she showed the business cards to the people, and of course the guy was very like, yeah, sure, man, give me a business card, I'd love to join servers. And everyone else, you know, was fairly like, I was okay with it. I wasn't at the thing. The YouTube comments reacting to it were horrible, except for one or two. Most of them were like, she's retarded, she has Asperger's syndrome, she's autistic, she's obviously socially awkward, cringe fail, hella fail, mad fail, all these things, right? And I when I first saw the video, I just thought it was funny because I didn't know what Minecraft was. I didn't know that Minecraft was like a game specifically targeted, or I didn't know Minecraft was a game where like basically autistic people and people with Asperger's syndrome and more introverted people, I want to say like me, although I'm not autistic, but I'm more introverted, I would say, even though I do talk a lot to myself, that this Minecraft game I had no idea about it when I was watching this video of this woman. So when she basically said that, I thought it was funny. I was like, would you like to join my Minecraft server? I just thought it was funny, just the way she was saying it. I just thought it was just funny. Like, everything about it was just funny because it was just a jovial atmosphere. When I was looking at, I remember I just thought it was like, would you like to join my Minecraft server? I have business cards. And I thought, this is funny. I don't know what Minecraft is. I think it's a video game, but you're asking me to join a video game server and I have a business card if you'd like to join it. I don't understand what that means, right? So it wasn't until later when my brother, basically half brother, started getting into Minecraft, and he was like, oh, I love it, it's so great. And I would watch him play and I was like, so this is Minecraft. And I was like, my first impressions on it were like I should make a reaction video to Minecraft, because it was like literally I was like, I don't understand, what are these hearts, what are we making, what's like, why is everything so like fuzzy, you know, like this is an Xbox game or whatever. And then like he's like, all right, you gotta start digging, and we'll dig and we'll make things. And I was like, this is so stupid. Anyway, I don't know. And then even my half brother got not into it as much. He's, you know, I think it's, I don't know. Anyway, what I was gonna say now is what I was gonna say now is you know, screw it. Let's go inside. I was gonna smoke some weed. I'm not gonna do that now. I'm gonna go inside and we're gonna do like just a quick like classroom session where I just want to talk about some things that perhaps people may not know, or things that I have explained in other videos that aren't necessarily perhaps understood by everyone. So I want to maybe have like an established definition, one that's like on the internet on Wikipedia or like psychology.org or psychology.com, or a definition that's like accepted by mainstream social service workers and mental health professionals. So what I'm going to do now is go and talk about that. I don't want to spend no more than 10 minutes doing this because I wanted to go outside and smoke weed, to be quite honest. It's just, I know this is an important thing I want to do as well because this is an important thing to do because as I just previously explained, it's very hard to explain unless there's an expert who's explaining it. I'm just gonna use the washroom real quick and then I'll pull this up. Just give me 1 second. Alright guys, let's talk about ERP. Let's talk about cognitive behavioral therapy. Let's talk about the fun stuff. Alright, first thing I want to do is give you guys a dictionary definition of what exposure and response prevention therapy is. So let's do a quick Google search of exposure and response prevention therapy. Exposure and response prevention. Okay, holy, a lot of notifications here. Holy. See, I don't use this tablet a lot. I use my phone. So okay. So this is something primarily for people with OCD, the internet is saying. I don't have OCD and it works perfectly well for me. I think I just stumbled upon an OCD support website. So let's look for more of like a Wikipedia website. Yeah. Sorry, I apologize, guys. It's just like a gazillion things happening. I'm just gonna quickly look up the Wikipedia website so you guys can see what I'm Googling here. Exposure therapy. It's called exposure therapy, exposure and response prevention therapy. You'll find different words for it. Let's just basically go through some of the different things here. Exposure therapy. Let's just read this Wikipedia page for a little bit. So exposure therapy is a technique in behavior. Let's read this again. Exposure therapy is a technique in behavior therapy to treat anxiety disorders. Exposure therapy involves exposing the target patient to their anxiety source or its context without the intention to cause any danger. Doing so is thought to help them overcome their anxiety or distress. Procedurally, it is similar to the fear extinction paradigm developed studying laboratory rodents. Numerous studies have demonstrated its effectiveness in the treatment of disorders such as generalized anxiety disorder, social anxiety disorder, obsessive compulsive disorder, PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, and specific phobias. So I have a specific phobia, choking phobia. It works very well for me. And you can see it works for other things too. Medical uses, let's keep on reading. There is empirical evidence that exposure therapy can be effective treatment for people with generalized anxiety disorder, or GAD, citing specifically in vivo exposure therapy, which has greater effectiveness than imaginal exposure in regards to generalized anxiety disorder. The aim of vivo exposure treatment, blah, 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 blah. You know, you guys can read that if you guys like. I'm going to move on to my part, phobia. I have choking phobia. So I think this will be very interesting. Let's read this. Exposure therapy is the most successful known treatment for phobias. Several published meta-analyses included studies of 1 to 3 hour single-session treatments of phobias using imaginal exposure. At a post-treatment follow-up 4 years later, 90% of pupils retained a considerable reduction in fear, avoidance, and overall level of impairment, while 65% no longer experienced any symptoms of a specific phobia. These are the things I want to stop. I'm just going to stop reading for a second. See, these are the things I want to highlight in this, what they're talking about. The thing that when people have phobias like choking phobia, they do things, for example, where their fear is increased. It's not reduced, right? It's very high, like, right? And the second part is that they have an avoidance. They avoid certain things that they want to do. If you have choking phobia, you're going to avoid foods. Maybe just certain drinks. The last one was an overall level of impairment. So as you understand, you'll become impaired when, for example, let's say you're what's that called? What's the word where you're like abusing drugs, and you're not eating. So when you abuse drugs and not eat, you'll become impaired because you'll be on a drug. You won't know exactly, and you also need your nutrition. You won't be having any of that because you'll also be anxious. So you have anxiety, drug abuse, and lack of nutrition, which is horrible. They call that in this term, they call it impairment or level of impairment. Moving on, is the second paragraph I want to get through here. Agoraphobia, which is obviously fear of like wide open spaces and specifically fear of like going outdoors, and social anxiety disorder are examples of phobias that have been successfully treated by exposure therapy. Agoraphobia is a fear of being in situations where escape might be difficult, or that help would not be available if things go wrong. Originating from the ancient Greek word agora or marketplace. Oh, I thought agoraphobia is fear of being outside. No, agoraphobia is fear of not having an exit from wherever you are. Interesting. I can see how that actually has definite tie in with choking phobia, like the fear of there being no safe exit, right, once the food's lodged in your throat. That's really interesting. Anyway, while social anxiety disorder is an anxiety disorder characterized by a significant amount of fear in one or more social situations. Such fears can be very debilitating in themselves, and in addition, patients often worry about showing anxiety and losing control in public. Yeah. So basically, that's what I wanted to talk about. It's also used to treat PTSD. We'll get to that in another video. And it's also used to treat OCD. Now, I heard about it first through OCD because I was misdiagnosed with OCD. They thought I had OCD because, like, because of the way I ate the food. They felt like, it was an OCD behavior, the repetitiveness of it. It wasn't until a doctor said, no, it's actually more of a phobia, and your personality is OCPD. You have OCPD personality, not an OC. No, you don't have an OCD. It's a disorder. You have an OCPD, which is a personality trait, which is a disorder because, to a certain extent, if not handled correctly, it can become a disorder. But it's not like a full-blown disorder as much as it's a way a person likes to think, like Asperger's syndrome. You understand? And I become very rigid. I become very stubborn. I become very very into not research, but I like to become like when I know something, and I think it's true, I'll be stubborn, and if anyone tries to convince me of it being not, I'll disagree. And I look at very little details and things, and I find them, and I find it very enjoyable. Like, sometimes even, typos in books are very fascinating to me, because I think to myself, I read it back, with the typo, and I just think, how funny it is. Anyway. I found this to be very interesting. This idea of, I'm not sure what I find interesting. Something. Okay, I want to end the video here because I have one more thing I want to talk about, which is they talk about something known as the techniques, right, for exposure therapy. And so I'm going to read this because this is basically what exposure therapy is, or exposure and response intervention therapy, in I would say the most clinical, scientific, way. This is for someone who has still confused what exposure therapy is and how it works. Exposure therapy is based on the principle of respondent conditioning, often termed Pavlovian extinction. The exposure therapist identifies the cognitions, emotions, and physiological arousal that accompany a fear-inducing stimulus, and then tries to break the pattern of escape that maintains the fear. This is done by exposing the patient to progressively stronger fear-inducing stimuli. Fear is minimized at each of a series of steadily escalating steps or challenges, a hierarchy, which can be explicit, static, or implicit dynamic, see method of factors, until the fear is finally gone. The patient is also able to terminate the procedure at any time. See, that's very important, how the patient has a bit of control as well as they go up in these fear gradations. There are 3 types of exposure procedures. The first is in vivo, or real life. This type exposes the patient to actual fear-inducing situations. For example, if someone fears public speaking, the person may be asked to give a speech to a small group of people. The second type of exposure is imaginal, where patients are asked to imagine a situation that they're afraid of. This procedure is helpful for people who need to confront feared thoughts and memories. The third type of exposure is introceptive, which may be used for more specific disorders such as panic or post-traumatic stress disorder. Patients confront feared bodily symptoms such as increased heart rate and shortness of breath. All types of exposure may be used together or separately. So, okay, well, evidence clearly supports the effectiveness of exposure therapy. Some clinicians are uncomfortable using imaginal exposure therapy, especially in cases of PTSD. They may not understand it or are not confident in their own ability to use it, or more commonly, they see significant contraindications for their client. Flooding therapy also exposes the patient to a feared stimuli, but it is quite distinct in that flooding starts at the most feared item in a fear hierarchy, while exposure starts at the least fear-inducing. Right? And I'm not a big fan of this whole flooding idea. I'm more of the gradual baby steps my mom taught me when I was first getting depressed and I wasn't going out. She said baby steps. And I find that to be better. This idea of slowly confronting your fear. So that's what I wanted to talk about that. I definitely want to talk about that. And I want to make more videos where I basically, after my exposure, I kind of talk more about what I want to talk about, which is, psychology. So the psychology channel. And what I want to also talk about is primarily choking phobia and social anxiety, my two basic problems. I have OCPD, definitely that's something I have. I see it more as OCPD as like an answer to all these misdiagnoses I had. For example, people said I had OCD. People said I had a schizoaffective disorder, and borderline personality disorder. And I think, I don't know if I really have those. What I do believe is, though, that this diagnosis of OCPD is definitely, like, clearing up a lot of answers I had in my head about what was wrong with me. Like, how, like, not just what was wrong with me, but just how I functioned. It was like if someone was to take my brain and make it into a person, right? A conscious, living, breathing person who I'd never met before. And when I meet this person, he would tell me, I believe you have OCPD, and you would immediately be like, oh my goodness, how did you know that? How are you in my brain? Like, obviously, once he explains what OCPD is, and all the symptoms and traits, you're like, it's almost like, they made this disorder for me. They should call it Nizam, personality. Anyway, I just found that very interesting, this idea of, having a diagnosis that actually fits and makes sense with who you are. Like borderline personality disorder, I was cutting myself because I had to deal with a traumatic experience, not because, because, I wanted to cut myself. It's not like that. Anyway, that was a long time ago. I don't do that anymore. That was when I was in a dark place where I was probably one of the darkest places of my life. It was post-rape, and they had me on this medication, and I just wasn't feeling it. Yeah, and I was just took a kitchen knife and just started, yeah. Anyway. Bismillah. Alhamdulillah, la hawla wa quwwata illa billahil azim. I have trust in God. All praise is due to God. There's no power or strength except with God, through God, and by God. In the name of God. I feel the need to say this because I'm not going to just talk about trauma and then, like, be okay with, these thoughts. Because when you have these thoughts, you've got to have a way to, like, get rid of them. Like, I feel... I don't know if I feel thoughts. I'm not gonna get into this all new age crap, but it's just that when you bring up something so traumatic like I just did, without kind of like, without kind of like bringing some sort of positivity into it, because I really believe positivity and positive thinking can actually is real. It's not like fake. Like, to have a spirit or an aura of positivity around you, I find is like having like another friend. When you feel positive and you feel confident, you feel like you have someone who's got your back because the person is you. It's that person you never knew could be so positive and become so positive. You're just like, holy crud. So, you don't want to disappoint me either. Okay. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a bit different. I do feel like maybe perhaps I should make, I don't know. I'll think about it. I was thinking, should I make videos about social anxiety, social phobia? I'll think about it. I don't think yet. that's something. Because I am more melancholy. I have like a melancholy disposition. Okay, I think I've said too much. This video's gone too long. Let's end it here. So go from a 10 to stay to a 10. Or guys, stay with it.